I started to see as we were working together and he was increasing his lead cost, the return on the lead cost versus the generated income started to go down. Okay. And this is where investors and acquisition specialists and everybody gets lazy, right? Everyone just wants to push a button and all of a sudden the money comes in, but you always need to sharpen your skills. Okay. So I said, hold up. Okay. Our minimum profit goal is to make $5 for every dollar we spend. That's what we do as joint venture partners. That is what we do.
Welcome to the No Limits Podcast, where limits do not exist, where you can create cash flow, equity, and real freedom with the power of real estate.
3, 4.
Now, we will begin.
Welcome to the dojo.
Hey, Todd, Toback here, and today I'm going to talk about how to extract an extra $40,000 or $50,000 a month out of your real estate wholesaling business. And I'm telling you, what I'm going to teach you today is so simple, yet it's profound. But before I jump in today's show, if you have not been to our website, head on over to nextlevelwholesaling.com. And if you've always wanted a business that generates large amounts of cash month after month after month without your personal day-to-day involvement, you want to get off the hamster wheel of small profits and tiny deals, and you don't want to run around like a chicken with your head cut off, but you want a business that serves you, go to nextlevelwholesaling.com and take the Next Level Wholesaling Assessment. It's going to rate you in the 4 core areas of your business. That's marketing, acquisition, disposition, and accounting. Okay, my mentor created it for me. I modified it for you, and it's going to take you about 5 minutes, totally confidential. No one will ever know your results, but once you take this, it's going to become abundantly clear on that very next step that you need to take to extract as much money out of your wholesaling business as possible with as few hours as possible work. So head over to nextlevelwholesaling.com. All right, so the inspiration for today's episode actually was from one of my joint venture partners, and I do joint venture with a handful of people across the country. And this particular joint venture partner, his goal for the year is to do $1.5 million in profit $1.5 million in gross profit for the year. And that includes assignment fees or double close or the profit from a flip, right? And he's running about a 40 to 45% profit margin, which is very, very, very good. Okay, so he calls me up and says, Todd, you know, I'm really struggling here to get past this $60,000 to $80,000 a month. Now, many of you listening to this are like, oh my gosh, I would kill to make $60,000 to $80,000 a month. And hey, don't worry, you will get there, all right, with the right marketing and the right sales closing techniques and listening to this podcast, or hey, maybe we can join venture one day. You will absolutely get there if you put your mind to it. But he was complaining about being stuck at $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a month, which is nothing to shake a stick at. That's $1 million business netting about $400,000 or $500,000 a year. And so he says, Todd, you know, I want to invest more into marketing. Now, I am a very, very, very big proponent of marketing. Your business must invest in marketing every single month. And you have to have a base of money that you spend. Okay, let me start with that. Okay, that being said, one of my favorite ways to get leads is fastsellerleads.com. I've talked about it a lot in the podcast. It's one of the fastest, easiest way to get leads. You basically choose your county, decide how much you're going to pay per lead, and then they start sending you leads. Some of the leads suck. Some of the people you won't be able to ever get a hold of, but about between 1 and 8 on the very, very good end, and between 1 and 35 to 40 on the low end, depending on your closing skills and the quality of that particular market. Okay, so check out fastsellerleads.com. But we were talking about that lead source among some of our other marketing, and he's like, hey, listen, to get to that $120,000, $130,000 a month, which, by the way, equals about a $1.5 million business, right? The way that works. About $80,000 a month is about $1 million business. 120 is about 1.5, around that. Okay, so Instead of, and he was like, let's spend more money, let's spend more money, let's spend more money. But what I started to see, and this is really important, okay, is I started to see as we were working together and he was increasing his lead cost, the return on the lead cost versus the generated income started to go down, okay? And this is where investors and acquisition specialists and everybody gets lazy, right? Everyone just wants to push a button and all of a sudden the money comes in, but you always need to sharpen your skills, okay? So I said, hold up, okay? Our minimum profit goal is to make $5 for every dollar we spend. That's what we do as joint venture partners. That is what we do. And he's like, Todd, the market's getting more competitive and, we just need to spend more money. I said, slow down, right? Just slow down. What I want you to do is I want you to go through all of your leads that we have in the database, okay? And I want you to mark them hot, warm, or follow-up, right? So hot is they're ready to do business in 30 days. Warm is that you see a problem brewing anywhere between 30 days and 6 months. And follow-up is maybe they're interested in selling but have no interest in really talking about anything serious right now, right? People who have really, there's no reason to believe that you think they'd be a motivated seller today. And so with that hot and warm list, I've talked about this a bunch of times, you should have 20 to 30 people on that list at all times, not more than 30. Okay, definitely not more than 30. And then for each one of those people, okay, you should have a commitment from the seller on the next step and then your next step. And define that with just such granular focus so that if you ask the seller what the very next step is in the sales process, or you ask yourself what the very next step in the sales process is, you and the seller should have the very same answer. And so I went over that with my joint venture partner. I'm like, there is money in your database. We need to, number one, we need to close more sellers. Number two, we need to close more sellers faster. We need to shrink that timeline. And then three, we need to increase the average size per deal. Okay, if you do that, we will get to $120,000 in this market a month, okay, with no additional capital outlay. And he's like, I don't know, Todd. And I'm like, trust me, I've been doing this for 20 years. We have to get back to the fundamentals, just like I trained my acquisition specialist. Every single time we do this, okay, we went into the database, myself, with him, we found 2 or 3 leads that were just kind of stagnant, just sitting there that just needed a little bit of conversation. We had to go over the sales system again, the commitments that we got, okay? Long story short, we got one deal that we found in there that was $50,000. 50K. The money for that marketing was spent months ago. So virtually this is 100% profit. So we went from $80,000 to basically $130,000 in profit for that month just by focusing in on the database. Now, I brainwash him and this is what I do with all of you guys listening to this, especially my joint venture partners. When it comes to deals, bigger is almost always better, right? Into really hitting that $50,000 mark. Now, sure, sometimes we fall short of it, but 50 is like the benchmark. And so, what do you know? He had actually never done a $50,000 deal, right? He was hovering around $35,000 and $40,000. And after this conversation was the first time he did his $50,000 deals. By the way, I know people who have done $100,000 deals, $200,000 deals, $300,000 deals, and I know people who have done over $1 million on a residential single-family house. It can be done, right? One of my favorite deals was in a market where we bought a house for $10,000 and we sold it for $90,000. So sure, you can't do $1 million deal on a $90,000 house, but you can do an $80,000 deal on a $90,000 house. Okay, free up your mind. Okay, so that is the big takeaway today. By the way, one of the things that we talked about is we tuned up on the no-limit selling system. And if you have not invested in a no-limit selling system, this is the system that I created after 20 years of wholesaling real estate, okay? And it is basically a system that I use to train myself and my acquisition specialist to do deals. I've taken people who have not been able to get 2 words out of their mouth, shaking when they talk to sellers, not closing any deals, to being the ultimate closer. I talk about this with my first acquisition specialist, Brian. And basically after seeing him really struggle, we created the no limit selling system. So if you're not using it, you've got to buy it. The price is embarrassing low. Go to nolimitsalessystem.com to find out more. But to summarize, it's not always about spending more money. As a matter of fact, it's almost never about spending more money. It's extracting more money out of the leads that you already have. Okay, you need to close the people who normally you wouldn't close. Okay, don't assume that your leads are being followed up properly unless you are meticulously going over them every day. You're staying organized. You are categorizing your hot and warm leads. Okay, you need 20 to 30 of those, and put them on the list and off the list as they become hot and warm. Okay, number 2, you need to negotiate right. Okay, you need to be doing big, fat, juicy deals, and that means walking away from the skinny deals. And lastly, you need to learn how to compress those timelines. You got to get those deals that are normally taking 6 months and get them closed in 3 months. This particular client, we just got back on track, right? After a little conversation, after a little self-talk, after getting back into the selling system. And what do you know? We're back on track to do $1.5 million in that market this year. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. Don't forget to head on over to nextlevelwholesaling.com, take the assessment, and I will talk to you on the next episode.